Okay, this is going to be a book review of a book called Native American Cookbook Recipes from Native American Tribes by G.W. Mullins and C.L. Hoss. I'm sorry, C.L. Hoss did the original art. This is not a terrible book, but it is what people don't understand about Mexican food and Native American food from North America is it has been highly influenced by European sources. In Mexico and Latin America, of course, from Spain, France, Portugal, Italy, etc. And in North America, again, of course, from Italians, very not so much, but also Germans, English, Dutch, Irish, Scottish, etc. The people that, influenced the Native American cooking styles. For example, there's a lot of different preservation techniques, such as pickling and stuff, that the Native Americans didn't use. A lot of recipes call for non-indigenous ingredients, such as dairy of all sorts, butter, cream, milk, etc., which would not have existed in the North American area. The book, generally speaking, is not a health book, which is like your best bet for following Native American recipes for health is to look up vegan or vegan primarily, recipes for Mexican food, which makes use of heavy amounts of indigenous ingredients. I, for one, bought this book actually just to get free shipping on other books I bought from Barnes & Noble. But I like learning about indigenous cooking practices and diet practices. I do plan on embracing a more thorough pre-Columbian diet approach to my health, especially because I had to cut out the caffeine and all that. I replaced a lot of coffee and tea with cocoa, and which is, of course, a very superfood. I'm not a believer in superfoods. I believe in eating generous amounts of all fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, etc. Primarily fruits and vegetables, grains, and some nuts and seeds added, to supplement the diet, and also taking numerous supplements. Okay, so my point is this book is good. It actually has a lot of interesting information on how to preserve food, both in a frozen and a fresh state. Of course, it's not a vegetarian cookbook. It makes use of a lot of meat, things that would not have been available in indigenous American times of the past. Of course, refrigeration was not back then. This book makes excellent use of showing people how to refrigerate and freeze foods. Frozen foods, especially frozen vegetables, are exquisite at providing necessary nutrients, as well as foods that taste much better than canned, and foods that are not laden with salt, as many of the canned vegetables are laden with salt. So the freezing of I'm going to break away from the vegan theme, but even freezing fish, meat, and things of that nature, along with fruits and vegetables, allows for longer access to these health-promoting foods for longer amounts of time. I'm not saying meat is health-promoting. We've already been through that in a past video. But when you utilize meat as somewhat of a condiment, along with generous servings of vegetables and vegetables, grains, fruits, etc., you do have a health-promoting meal with some meat in it. Okay, so that's the idea there from my standpoint. I would also like to point out that the book was written very well, except for the fact that there's like 17 different versions of fry bread in here. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but there's way too many versions of fry bread, which is just deep-fried dough. And of course, that's most likely not a truly indigenous recipe. But it is popular in Native American cuisine today. I wouldn't necessarily recommend the book to people that aren't interested in Native American cooking simply for the cultural aspect. Again, this is not a health book. For people interested in looking up the health-promoting aspects of indigenous American cuisine, I recommend looking up things like the Three Sisters aspects of planning, how to eat more traditionally from archaeological and anthropological standpoint, looking into the anthropological stuff with the Inca in Peru, the Aztec and Maya in Mexico and Guatemala, how they ate, what they practiced, the Belizean hunter-gatherers, things like this. These are all easily found from a Google Scholar search or even just a regular Google search, although I'm not a big fan of Google. PubMed.gov provides a lot of good information if you search these things on there as well. And that's all for this book review.